Hey, Work Positive Nation, does your company include as a part of its positive work culture a strategic innovation council? No? Do you have a cadence or a way of discovering who strategically innovates and can make strategic innovation a competitive advantage for your company so that you're inventing the future as opposed to letting your competition do that? My guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast is going to help you discover the importance of strategic innovation and how to begin implementing it today. So listen up, learn, and let's create a positive work culture that includes strategic innovation.
Welcome to the Work Positive Podcast with your host, executive coach, and culture architect, Dr. Joey Fawcett. Discover strategies and tactics that work positive as Dr. Joey talks with industry leaders who create a positive work culture that attracts top talent and reduces team turnover. Discover how you can create a work positive culture that increases productivity and profits. Here's your host, Dr. Joey.
Work Positive Nation, help me welcome my friend for more years than I'm going to count on this podcast today, Darrell Amy. Darrell, welcome to the Work Positive Podcast, my friend.
Dr. Joey, it's great to be here.
Man, it is always good when I get to be with you. The amazing thing you're going to discover in this podcast, Work Positive Nation, is how much you're going to learn from Darrell. He is this ninja of wisdom, so it's far beyond knowledge, but yet he brings knowledge up alongside the wisdom and is always growing, always thinking, always learning. And I come away just excited and motivated to be with him every time. And this time is going to be no different. Darrell, thanks so much for carving out some time for us today, buddy.
Hey, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I have a I have a preview of where we're going. And this is going to be a really, really powerful conversation.
Preview. That's right. A thumbnail sketch.
That's right.
I love it.
In a world.
That's right. In a galaxy far, far away.
That's right.
Oh, man. Darrell, man, so many people today are struggling with things like, how do I engage my employees? How do I make them more productive? Do we come back into the office, 2 days a week, 3 days a week? Is there even an office anymore? If so, what are we doing to the commercial real estate business if we don't? We've invested all this money in this. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty and so many things that cloud, if I can just call it noise, but they cloud our perspective. One of the casualties of all of this uncertainty, at least from my perspective in working with companies, is innovation is like underneath the barrel. It's not just at the bottom of the barrel, but it's underneath the barrel. We're just trying to figure out basic questions and then basic answers. But the companies that are poised to, in the midst of this uncertainty, really propel are the ones achieving strategic innovation. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah. And if you think about employee engagement, when it comes to innovation is critical. Jim Collins, the great one, who wrote Good to Great and Built to Last. He found out that companies that succeeded over the long term did two things well. They preserved the core. They were good at operational excellence, taking care of their customers, all those things you have to. It's kind of table stakes, if you will, in business now. But they were also good at stimulating progress. They were good at innovating. And here's where I think the opportunity is for companies. This is a little bit off what you might normally think of employee innovation. Employee engagement, where it's going to be innovation. And here's why. Every employee population has a percentage of employees that have a gift. They have working geniuses, to quote our friend Patrick Lencioni, of wonder, invention, and discernment. I wonder how we could do things better. Invention, I got 5 ideas. Discernment, well, 4 of those are not so good, but one of them is great. You have those employees all over your company. The problem is, in most companies, no one ever asks. And all of this latent talent gets untapped. And so many employees that have these innovative gifts sit in the background, many of them bored to death.
Yes.
And some of them looking to find other jobs. And there's such an opportunity to activate that right now. that will spark employee engagement in some of the best employees in your organization.
It's almost like they're on the back burner and they've got a lid on, but the lid is vibrating a little bit. You can tell there's some kinetic energy built up under it, and it's doing this. But somebody, Darrell's got to pay attention to that. How do I see that in my company and find those people?
Well, I think first of all, you need to look in different places than you might normally look. So normally, if a company actually does go down the road of innovation, we think, okay, well, let's get all the people that are in the upper echelons of the organization involved. But there's two issues with that. First of all, those people may or may not have innovative gifts. For example, to go back to the working genius model, if someone is a tenacity or enable person, very good when it comes to execution, you bring them into a room of people ideating and brainstorming about better ways to serve your customer, and they're the ones going, that would never work. Well, that has its place, right, just not in that meeting. And so I think the first thing is, we don't want to look in the C-suite for these people. We want to look for people based on their gifting. And the second thing we want to look for is people that are actually close to the customer. So when it comes to innovation, we need customer focused innovation in most companies. If your company is providing tax services, you don't need an innovation team trying to create the next self-driving hovercraft, right? Or whatever that is.
You need fun as somebody.
That might be. It might be amazing. And if you're in the hovercraft business, you probably should do that. But if you're a financial services company and you serve CFOs of organizations, let's say, you need to understand what Clay Christensen, the great Harvard Business School innovation guru, would say. You need to understand the jobs they want done really, really well. And customers don't buy products and services; they hire them to get a job done, to make progress in an area that's important. So, inside the organization, sometimes when we think of innovation, we think of, we should get these people. They're in the C-suite, they're in the upper echelons. No, not necessarily. We want people who are close to the customer from all aspects of the organization that have working genius gifts around innovation, and let's engage those people. And the latent talent there is incredible.
Oh, it is amazingly. However, I love the way you're saying that we've got to change our focus, because we tend to go de facto right into the C-suite, but staying close to the customer is so important. So let's say, Darrell, that I'm attracting top talent, which is a twofold process, right? In order to attract, I've got to make sure that I'm looking close to the customer for innovation, right? And talking to those persons with this latent ability who may just need empowering, right? In order to begin this strategic innovation process. So that's the way the attraction factor kicks in. Let's say I've attracted someone that I think is top talent in the area of strategic innovation. How do I best talk to them about strategic innovation in order to invite them onto a team where they're going to get to innovate in ways that they want to, and the team's going to benefit?
Yeah, I think this is a really great question. And to me, it just begins with an inventory of the organization. So who are my innovative people? I use Working Genius because it's super easy. There are different assessments you could probably use to find people with StrengthsFinder and different gifts of innovation. So figure out who's that pool first. Then, by the way, my friends at Working Genius tell me these gifts of innovation are usually in 10 to 20% of your population. So you do the math, right? You have 100 people in your company. There's 10 to 20. You have 1,000. So if you wanted to form an innovation team or innovation council to pull these people together, you'd start by doing that inventory and go, who's got these geniuses, these giftings of coming up with new ideas? And then the second thing I would do is I would start to look at who's closest to the customer, and can we get a representative team from multiple perspectives in the organization? So maybe someone's from customer service, or somebody is from your technical team, someone's from your sales or marketing team, somebody is from your finance team. But what we're able to do is bring together multiple perspectives for people that are close to that customer. So we're able to really generate some useful ideas. So I think it starts, do that inventory and then start to look at that list and go, okay, who can we pull into this team that really could add some value?
And ensuring that 10 to 20% may sound like a big number, but it's not a big number, right? I mean, you just can't expect everyone to innovate. So you're looking for a unicorn in top talent to attract to your team. How do you involve that innovation council or innovation team that you just described? How do you involve them in this whole conversational process of seeking to attract top talent?
Yeah, well, I think people are attracted to culture. And one of the things I think is really great about companies that are known for innovation is it becomes a signature part of their culture. And talk about something that's positive, right? We're talking about creating a positive culture.
Right.
There's an aspect to this that's super positive that here at our company, we're awesome. We're inventing new ways to do things. We're on the front edge of all of this. We're forward thinking, all of that. So just that culture itself becomes a great attraction, not only to the innovative people, but really to anybody. I mean, you think of some of the iconic brands of innovation like Tesla, like Apple, like Google. I mean, there is a work culture there around saying we're gonna reinvent and change the world. And so I think this attraction process really begins with recognizing that innovation can be a very powerful hallmark of your culture at your company, and something that's worth backing up with some actual action and not just a word saying we're innovative.
Yeah.
I've got lots to say about that, because I think everyone would say, wow, we're a value added company. We're a value added provider. And I'll go, okay, well,
what does that look like?
Show me your wall of innovation success. Show me the structures that you have in your org chart and job roles related to innovation. Show me the systems that are in place. But once those are in place, you build that innovative culture, and you become known in your industry for being the leader. And think about the competitive advantage of that from a recruiting standpoint now. When you become known, whatever industry that you're in your market, to be known as, hey, these are the people that come up with the new ideas, you're going to attract the right type of people into that. And it's going to lift the boat all the way around.
All the way around. Exactly. Darrell Amy is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. We're talking about strategic innovation and how you can leverage it as a competitive advantage in your own company. As you continue listening, if you want to go to Darrell's website, it's strategicinnovationengine.com, strategicinnovationengine.com. And we'll talk in a few minutes about how you can get a special report from there that Darrell's put together for Work Positive Nation. And you'll really see it as a great starting point and even a blueprint for you to have more strategic innovation in your company culture and thereby make it positive. So I've created these conversations between my current innovative people who can talk with credibility and authenticity about how we innovate around here. That conversation has gone on with top talent whom we've identified as someone that would augment that team with innovation and strategically. So person's on the team. It's one thing, as we were just indicating, to say that we're strategically innovative. It's another to actually act like it. So that's right. How do I ensure that the revolving door at the back stops and I am engaging fully and productively these innovative strategists on my team?
Well, you need systems in place. And so, look, most organizations aren't going to be able to have full-time employees for innovation, unless you're a Fortune 500 company. And by the way, every Fortune 500 company has an innovation team. We should take a cue from this. These massively successful companies recognize that what got them there it probably won't be what gets them, to the next place moving forward. So they recognize we need to innovate. So for most companies, though, in the middle, you look and go, okay, well, we can't do this full time, but what we can do is we can find these innovators and we can stand up what we call an innovation council. And the idea is this council meets on a regular cadence to come up with ideas. And in between the meetings, they have tools and a process to validate those ideas. We got to pilot them. We've got to test them. We've got to optimize them and package them up for delivery. So, for example, with our clients in the guide that you talked about, A Visionary's Guide to Unleashing Strategic Innovation, we recommend just a cadence, a quarterly cadence, a focus day to bring these people together and have deep discussions about the customers, the jobs to be done. What does that customer, what's going on in the world of our customers right now? How could we do the job better? What other jobs could they hire us for? And then leave that with a body of ideas that then, we pick 3 or 4 of them. And throughout that next 90 days, that innovation council goes through a process using tools to validate, to pilot, to optimize, and to package that up. Some of the ideas, if you have 3 ideas, Joey, one of them is going to be amazing. It's going to get handed off to the implementation team and boom, everything rolls. One of them is probably going to need to cook a little longer, back in that back burner, simmering a little bit with some more work. And one of them is going to be terrible. And we're going to go, that was awful. Yep. But as my friend Pablo Giacopelli says, failure is the most fertile learning ground on the planet. So even the failures get celebrated inside this, because what we're doing is we're discovering what is going to become the future competitive advantage of our organization. So a cadence. I mean, this is a cadence of quarterly, as our recommendation, strategic innovation days, pull these people together. And it's beautiful what happens. My story, Joey, I started my career at what you would think would be a very innovative company. It was a global technology company called Toshiba. And I worked in their regional sales team. I had a group of dealers and all of that. And being an innovative person, I thought, man, this is going to be great going to work for this global technology provider. And by the way, fantastic company, great management team. But in my role, they really didn't want innovation. They wanted production. They had a number. They had a number for me to hit every 90 days. And they were very concerned about me hitting that number. Now, look, I hit the number, but I was bored. And about 5 years into that job, I left. And I was the youngest person in that position. And everyone goes, Darrell, what are you doing? This is like a dream job. And, I can recognize now, well, maybe a dream job for you, but not for me, because there was no outlet. And I just think, Joey, what would have happened had somebody in that company, great company, had there been some type of structure to recognize an innovative gift and go, hey, why don't you come on this team and help us think about better ways to do things? I would probably still be there today.
Wow.
And it was 20 years ago this month that I tapped out and actually started my own company. I was like, well, I'll innovate for myself. And this is where I'm and I think that there are so many organizations that have people on their team that are bored. And this is, this is, in my opinion, like a notch below disengaged. They have talent. They want to be engaged and they're bored. And you don't want to lose these people because they're the ones that have the ideas that can springboard you to the next level of success. So I'm pretty passionate about this, but this is so critical that companies put this structure in place so they can begin to tap this uncovered, latent, untapped, just below the surface potential, and not only create a better culture in their company, but drive some very meaningful results.
Huge results that if you continue the status quo, you're never going to realize, right? And that's what you became a part of, was the inertia behind the way we've always done it. So nobody was asking the question. So one of the challenges to creating this type of strategic innovation in a positive work culture is inertia. We've done it like this. We've been selling X number of widgets for these many years. It's working. Don't mess it up. What are some other challenges to creating strategic innovation as a regular part of a positive work culture, Darrell?
I want to go back to that inertia for a second and just put a highlighter on how important it is for businesses to recognize the power of tension. of creative tension in an organization. And
Mm.
as we said at the top of the hour, top of the show, that Jim Collins said, you got to preserve the core. So there
Right.
does need to be the flywheel and all of that, but we also need to stimulate progress. And so both of these things are in tension in an organization. A lot of great books have been written about that tension and how to manage it. But tension is healthy in the sense that it creates energy.
Mm.
So I would say, recognize that. Second, we alluded to this earlier. It's important that you have people on your innovation team that are idea people and not wet blankets. And it really is. It can kind of kill the momentum in that. And so this is why I think the qualification is some type of assessment. We use Working Genius because it's so simple and straightforward. It's a language. And we can easily, in a company that has implemented Working Genius, say, yeah, wrong meeting. The wet blanket. There's going to be a meeting for that down the hall. And it's necessary. It's right. Celebrated. But at the same time, this is the other thing. I mean, us innovative people come into an operations meeting where trying to get something done and delivered. And us innovation people, we've had to bite our tongue a lot because we come in and go, oh, I got a better way to do that.
That's right.
Let's reinvent this whole thing. And, and the other people are like, hey, this train's going down the track. Wrong meeting. And so if you can begin to have that type of dynamic in your business where you're able to have at least an honest enough conversation to go, hey, this is not the meeting we're having right now. This is a meeting for ideas and vice versa. This is a meeting for implementation. I think that, it's healthy culture to be able to recognize that both of these things are important and both of them need to happen. And so we need to honor that in the organization. And I think this topic of honor is something that keeps coming up over and over again. But having a culture where we honor people's gifts and the innovative people, let's honor them and let's honor the people who are the get her done people as well.
Absolutely, because it takes both and living in creative tension, right?
That's right.
When our de facto response to someone who possesses a different working genius than us, oftentimes, is to get out our hammer and chisel and try to create them in our image. But in fact, 10 to 20% could be, like you, misplaced.
Well, and let's just be realistic. We all have different aspects of our job that, may not always fall in our joy bucket. In terms
pay the rent, right?
That's right. And there's aspects of that. Look, we all have aspects of every part of our life that may not light our fire. But I think this is where, when you look at the people in your company who are gifted, talented, and passionate about innovating, can we at least give them some outlet in the organization where that's celebrated, where that's recognized, and where it's utilized? And these people, us innovators, we want to make a difference. This is the cry of the innovator's heart is, hey, let's figure out a better way and let's do it together. And if we do it together, Joey, this is another important thing, because there are innovators. A lot of them are visionaries or founders of companies that,
right.
We get ideas, we go to a conference, read a book, wake up in the middle of the night with heartburn, get an idea, and then we come bouncing into the office and we drop into our management team and go, I got an amazing idea. And everybody tries not to roll their eyes. And, and inside, after the founder leaves the room, they're like, he'll get over it. He'll get it. Just give him some time.
Just wait him out.
Because there's no process in a lot of companies to take ideas and actually validate them. So pilot them, optimize them, prepare them. So by the time it's ready to roll, everyone's already heard about it. And it doesn't seem like a wild and crazy thing at that point. Because that is lacking in so many organizations, even the visionary founder who may be the lone wolf integrator in the company, he or she is got a horrible batting average or on base percentage with these new ideas because there's no one to validate them. And so this is another reason for organizations to go, hey, let's get that founder, that visionary, a team of people to work with them to validate these ideas and bring them to life. By the way, little secret, and I work in a world of companies that use the Entrepreneur's Operating System, EOS, and I hang out with a lot of visionaries who, you could also call innovators, and a lot of them are bored in their companies. So let's pull together a team around these people and let's have some fun. Let's bounce some ideas around, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you and I always enjoy that, and it's because who else do we do that with, right? But what I hear you describing, Darrell, is a seed bed. When is it time, and it's seasonal, right? When is there time in a designated safe space, right, to come put some seeds in the dirt? The soil's got to be the right kind of soil, right, and have certain qualities that are going to nourish. It's going to take a little bit of cultivation, obviously some water and light, to see what those seeds begin to grow up into. So where in your company does that happen? Look at your revolving door on the backside. Probably seen a lot of innovators at 10 to 20% of your company leaving vis-a-vis that very exit. StrategicInnovationEngine.com is the website. Darrell Amy is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. Darrell, we've talked around this special report. Tell us a little bit more about that. And we get that from your website, correct?
You certainly can. And this was, I kept getting questions going, okay, well, how could we do this in our organization? And so rather than answering them over and over again, I thought, well, I'll just put this together in an easy to digest special report. I call it a visionary's guide to strategic innovation. And this is great to hand to the founder of your company. Or if you're a founder, this is a great guide to say, hey, here's how this could work. And we also call some things out. We call out the risks of not innovating in your company. I was thinking earlier this week, I actually shared this on LinkedIn. Sometimes people go, well, Darrell, we're really busy around here. We don't have this.
You are now.
And I would say you can get busy inventing the future, or you can stay busy responding to your competitors who are inventing the future,
right?
And I would rather be busy inventing the future. So a visionary's guide to strategic innovation, just go to strategicinnovation.com. Right there at the bottom of the homepage, you'll see that. And if you want to have a conversation around these ideas, of course, we'd be happy to have that conversation with you.
Wonderful. Now, I'm sure that guide tells me exactly what your one thing is, but I want you to say it because the Work Positive Nation always wants to know from my guests, what's one thing they can do today to create that positive work culture. So what's one thing we can do to unleash strategic innovation in a positive work culture, Darrell Amy?
Well, I'm going to say begin with prioritizing innovation in your company. And you said this earlier in the show. A lot of times, when you're a startup, you innovate or you die. Yeah. If you're a Fortune 500 company, you've got an innovation team, but most companies that are in the middle, it's like an innovation desert. So why not, I double dog dare you to prioritize innovation inside your company and get thinking, what could we do to become the company in our space that's known for being the innovator, the leader, the category leader? If you do that, the rest of it can follow. And once again, you'll find detail in the guide on how to put this together. But the prioritization of innovation, making it not an afterthought. You can't survive, as Jim Collins said, in Built to Last, you can't survive without this. I call it random acts of innovation that will not create a sustainable. And so we talk about a work culture. I want to make sure you have a work culture 10 years from now, which means you actually stop a company. And this is, this is a sobering thing, but we got to prioritize innovation in our organizations.
Thank you, Darrell, for what an amazing one thing. StrategicInnovationEngine.com is a website. Darrell Amy is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. I promised you, Work Positive Nation, you were going to learn a lot, and you did. So go out and begin with Darrell's one thing today. Go back and listen to this episode again and find yourself some more traction points within your company for unleashing a huge competitive advantage in strategic innovation. Darrell, thank you so much, man. I love every time I'm with you and every minute of every time I'm with you. Thank you so much.
Always fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Please share this podcast with your friends who are HR and small business leaders so they can do one thing today to create a positive work culture that increases productivity and profits. I'd like to give you a free Work Positive course just for listening. It's called Something to Talk About, and it's transformed the work conversations of so many people all over the world. Get your free copy when you go to workpositive.today/something to talk about, and you can start transforming your conversations today. Remember, it pays to work positive.